All right. Good day, everyone. So this is the time that I'll be posting, a video related to Plato's idea, specifically on Allegory of the Cave. All right. So I know that there are a lot of you who are studying philosophy and trying to expound the idea molded by this, story of Plato about Allegory of the Cave, about the prisoners inside the cave and also the illusion versus reality or whatsoever. All right, so in this topic, we will discuss everything that you need. All right, so once again, this is Mr. General Butaslak, the course instructor, and currently I'm teaching philosophy subject, logics, and etc. in college schools or colleges in US, particularly in US. All right, so now introduction to Allegory of the Cave. So, an exploration of Plato's allegory depicting the journey from ignorance to enlightenment. All right. So, the background on Plato. So, those who are familiar or not familiar with Plato, this is the time that you will know who is Plato. No? So Plato, and by the way, everyone, if you notice that sometimes I'll be speaking Tagalog, so I am Filipino, and there are two languages that I'll be using to explain this, theory. The English and also the Filipino language, specifically Tagalog. Now, background on Plato. So in his early life, Plato is a student of Socrates and a teacher of Aristotle, founded the academy. All right. So if you heard about the name Plato, okay, Plato is also known as the founder of the school, which is known as the Platonic school, no? So school of thought. And it is mentioned here about Socrates, the teacher of Plato. So Socrates is one who has the line like, an unexamined life is not worth living. So Socrates is a teacher, is the first, ancient philosopher who really, started the philosophy, thinking about what is world and also the relevance in reality on those times. Now, Aristotle also he has a lot of contribution in logic, in epistemology. Epistemology is the study of knowledge. So yeah, so Socrates, Plato, and Aristotle. So they are the philosopher from ancient time. Now, so ancient periods. Now, Aristotle is the student of Plato. So Aristotle is a student of Plato, and he is very known as in his idea and contribution in education, logic, and many more functions nowadays that is used nowadays in education. Now, philosophic contributions of Plato. He is known for his works in ethics, epistemology, and metaphysics. Speaking of metaphysics, this is beyond. All right. Epistemology, this is a study of knowledge. Written works. So Plato's renowned dialogues include The Republic and Apology of Socrates. All right, so that's all for the background of Plato. Now we have here the summary of the allegory. So this is a metaphorical narrative illustrating the concept of enlightenment and the journey to knowledge. As you can see in the picture here, you can see that there are people inside the cave. So these people are the prisoners. So these prisoners are facing on the wall. So why they are facing on the wall instead of facing outside? They are tied up. They cannot even see what is reality at the back. Meaning to say, they will judge based on their perception on what they see on the wall. So if they see any objects passes by outside the cave through the reflection of the light outside, they are just, for them, they will give the meaning based on what the objects form. All right. So when they see, a figure like a dog, they will just say that this is a kind of animal that will bark or that will act like this. And the sound of this animal is something like this. So we need to say these are the illusions. No? So illusions. Okay, so there are key themes in a symbol. So illusion versus reality. So highlighting the contrast between appearance and a true knowledge. So what does it mean? Highlighting the contrast between appearance and true knowledge. So when we go back to the idea, when the prisoners are facing on the wall, they see the shadow of the object or anything outside the cave based on the reflection, no, from the light outside. It forms a figure or an object that has life. All right. So when they see, okay, this is illusion versus reality. When they see a figure like a human figure, take note that they are facing on the wall. So what they perceive on what they see on the wall is just the basic idea on the figures on the reality. Meaning to say, when we connect this to the real world, let's say, when you see a man who is always laughing, it doesn't mean that he is happy. If you can see that this person is, you never seen him smile, it doesn't mean that he is mad. It doesn't mean that he is worry or whatsoever definition on his figure or in his um reaction or whatsoever. All right. So knowledge and acquisition. So emphasizing the process of gaining wisdom and enlightenment. So meaning to say that when you understand the real meaning of this illusion, then you can actually generate the pure knowledge. Enlightened philosopher, so symbolizing the philosopher's role in guiding society towards truth. One of the point of this allegory of the cave is that the idea in aiming or in getting what is reality. Right? So many of us are, maybe we could say that this is truth and this is not. This is real and this is not. This is legit or this is not. All right? So but sometimes due or because of our ignorance, we may sometimes forget what is really true. It is somehow like your neighbor, or let's say one of your family member is trying to, you know, uh, create or fabricate a story against you, and then you're trying to defend yourself. And then a person who is a member of your family also is, instead of saying what is truth behind the scene, he he instead trying to cover the fault of your somehow in a member of your family or whatsoever issue. Okay, something like that. Okay, interpretation of the prisoners. So ignorance and the resistance of truth. So in ignorance, a prisoner's state of unawareness and acceptance of the shadows as reality. So take note that these prisoners are inside the cave and then they are facing on the wall. So meaning what they see on the wall is only the shadow. And this shadow emphasizes not, I could not say it's not real, but it is still real, but meaning to say there is a limit of knowledge in which the understanding of the prisoners with regards to the shadow is only the meaning of that shadow, but not the real object or not the meaning of the real object that results the shadow. Okay? Second, resistance of truth. So depicting the reluctance to accept the world beyond their limited perception. So limited. So meaning to say that the idea of these prisoners are only inside the cave. What they see is only the shadow, and those shadows for them is real. For them is, that's it. If they see a figure like a human being, then maybe that's it. All right? Okay, next. Interpretation of the shadow. So forms and deception. So this is what I said earlier. Okay, so representing false beliefs and misconceptions projected onto the cave wall. Okay? So again, this is what I mentioned, that no matter what objects form on the shadow, that would be the idea molded on the mind of the prisoners. Okay? So if they see that, okay, this is a person, so therefore this is a person. This is a dog, then this is a dog. This is a chicken, this is a chicken. Something like that. Illusionary reality. So emphasizing the superficial nature of the prisoner's perceived world. So illusionary reality. Interpretation of the outside world. The source of truth. Now, this is it. No? So the source of truth, portraying the enlightenment that comes from comprehending the realm of genuine knowledge. Okay? So again, this is like, the imagination of those people inside the cave. They're trying to portray, okay, so if this shadow is look like a human, then therefore this should be a human. Okay? They're trying to connect the ideas based on the source. What is the source here? The reflection of the outside world, or the outside of the cave. The reflection of the light that hits on the wall and forms something in figure, or it creates form inside the cave. So meaning, if whatever figure that gathered and formed on the wall, there is, the deficit, the acquisition of knowledge there is limited. Okay, so yeah, we can relate this in a real world, of course. Harsh reality, so reflecting the initial discomfort experience when transitioning from ignorance to enlightenment. Okay, so if the prisoners would stay inside the cave forever and ever, they will not be considered as the product of truth, but they are, or they could be remained as ignorance, because their senses or their ideas are only gathered from the data, in which they focus on the shadow, on what they see on the wall, and also on the sounds that they hear from outside world. Which means that if anyone outside the cave is shouting, then that's the sound that they perceive in their senses. And then what form created on the wall, then that's the only thing that they have, or they can, perceive in their senses, no? In their sense of, uh, in their eyes, of course, no? And then, relevance to modern society. So relevance to modern society. We have here the cyberspace. Okay. So why I am making this video? It's of course for us to relate the 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 reality with regards to the allegory of the cave and our current society. So cyberspace. So the modern cave where digital screens influencing perceptions. Meaning that nowadays when we see our gadgets, we can see a lot of fake falsification of information and lot of fake informations that we can gather through our gadgets. All digital, information, or all product of this digitalization mostly coming from the fake knowledge, particularly in artificial intelligence. Nowadays, we cannot, for me, in a sense of education, it is very difficult for the educators to partake the knowledge. You know why? It's because when we say when we say digital literacy, youths or the children nowadays are very familiar, or are very, influenced by this digitalization period. Imagine at the age of 3, the parents, no, the parents are practicing their children to use gadgets. With this will really influence people. or this will really influence these children, okay, not to be serious in their learning towards reality. When you notice that when you have, conversation with your friend, when they hold a cell phone, let's say, when they are holding a cell phone, they will just focus on their phone instead of talking to you. If they responded, or if they response, sometimes it's not, accurate with what you're expecting. It's because they are focusing on gadget. That is why, I'm not saying that digitalization is, will have a bad effects, but there is somehow like a negativity on it. So depending on, on the uses, no, of the digitalization. Mass media, number 4. So media's potential to project illusion and shape public opinion. Take note of that. That especially when it comes of, information with regards to the issues, particularly in the leaders of the country. Okay, there are medias that are, prone and biases, and through or and because of their biases, they will spread false information, and this is considered as fake news. No, so fake news is somehow, it's, difficult to stop. It's because people would easily believe instead of searching the source of truth. So instead of searching, they are really dependent on technology. So they'll just use ChatGPT or whatsoever. And take note that ChatGPT will not give you the accurate answer. So ChatGPT sometimes they will mislead you towards what is accurate. Okay? ChatGPT, maybe they could this AI tool could just help you for expounding the idea, or let's say to emphasizing the idea to make you understand. But when it comes of, as a source or a tool for as your evidence of truth, then I don't think so it's if it's reliable. So that's why mass media is actually, you have to be careful. It's because people would easily believe, especially if they have their own bias as well. Okay? So take note of that. Now, criticisms and debates. So critic and idealism. Critic of idealism. Debates regarding whether the allegory presents an overly idealistic view of reality. So, so this is where people are trying to give the criticism if this allegory of the cave could give a realistic view towards reality. Of course, for me, it's it's a way of reflecting the world of truth. It's because, in the allegory of the cave, it emphasizes the ignorance of the people, in which they see, or the knowledge they perceived is based on what they see. Okay? Contemporary relevance, so discussion about the application, the allegory in diverse social context. So this is where people could, make their visualization on the possible, effect or outcomes of their action. Something like, if I will stop my study, is there an assurance that I will be successful? If I will start my business now, is there a possibility that I'll be harvesting a lot of money at the end of the day? Something like that. Okay? So, in conclusion, so it's enduring impact, so the lasting influence of the allegory in philosophy, art, and literature. Then, continued analysis, its continual exploration in academic and intellectual discourse. Take note that this allegory of the cave will be an example of the reality in which people should always, think of the consequences of the reality outside from there, or let's say beyond their expectation or beyond their understanding. Okay, it is somehow like, a pen. So when you see a pen, okay, when you see a pen, your perception or first the idea for this is a pen. The beauty of this pen, the brand is good, and the color. So that's the basic ideas or interpretation with regards to, or when I see this pen. But when we connect with the allegory of the cave, the goodness of this pen is the function. So what is the function of this pen? What is the purpose of beauty if inside is empty? All right. So I hope it's good and you learned something for this video. And thank you so much, everyone, for watching. And that's all for now. And see you on my next video. Thank you so much.